Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
And it is frequently, traditionally considered the church's birthday because it is today that the church really becomes the church, that you and I become the disciples, that we become who we are called to be. I mean, one of the ways that this is very, very simplified, so don't take this too far, but one of the ways that you can split the Trinity up into the Bible is that the Old Testament is really the Father acting, right? The New Testament, a lot of that, the Gospels and stuff, is Jesus, the Son acting, the Christ. And then when you go into like Acts and now our time, it's the Holy Spirit acting. So we experience those three different versions of the Trinity. And like I said, that's a very, very simplified version. So don't write any sort of theological treatise on this. But it's a way of helping us kind of distinguish some of those different things, and that can be helpful. Because I know for a lot of us as Episcopalians, when we hear Holy Spirit stuff, we get a little bit freaked out. We think, are there going to be snakes? Is there going to be is Meg going to make us chant and do weird stuff? No, because if you've ever heard Meg chant, you know that should not happen. And I can't dance, and I don't like snakes. So here we are. But I think it's important for us as Episcopalians to realize that the Holy Spirit is the part of the Trinity that you and I interact with the most. And so I think it's really, really important for us to reclaim Pentecost for the power that it is, because it is you and I, people like us, being called to do the things that we are called to do. Because Jesus makes it very clear. I've been the Christ here while I've been with you. You haven't been having to do this stuff on your own. But I'm leaving. And guess what? That makes you the Christ. So, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to send the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit will equip you to do the work that I have been doing. So it's going to be fine. We'll be fine. But guess what? You're Christ now. Because remember, and I know I've done this before, but it's weird when we get into all this Trinity stuff. The Christ is eternal. Jesus is a specific person in a specific time. Does that make sense? So Christ is always, Jesus is 32 years. Okay? So I know it gets weird because we're like, Jesus is the Christ. Yes, Jesus is the Christ, but Christ is not always Jesus. Okay. So right now, you and I get to be Christ. Ooh, that's a big thing. And can you imagine how these poor disciples feel about this, right? So all of a sudden, this all happens to them. And this is what you and I have to hear, because it's overwhelming and it's exhausting to think about, oh my gosh, all the stuff that Jesus was doing, we're supposed to do that now. How are we going to do that? How are we going to be the church in this time, in this place, when we don't know how? We're not equipped to do this. Let me tell you something. God doesn't call the equipped. God equips the called. And guess what? Everybody called. Everybody is called. Now, in different ways, just like the disciples spoke in different languages, right? They're not all the same. So the way that I communicate Christ in the world is going to be different than the way that you communicate Christ in the world. And guess what? That's important. Because what communicates for some people in my way is not going to communicate for all people. Now, I would love to say that every single person should love Meg Rhodes. She's great. You go out and you tell her friend, Meg Rhodes is great. Guess what? She's not. And so for some people, that's not going to be the way that Christ reaches them. And that's okay. And the way that you reach out to people isn't going to work for everybody. And that's okay. Because guess what? You have a unique calling and a unique way of communicating Christ's love in this world. And that is what's important. Not the fact that somebody else, somewhere else is going to do it. But that you and I, in our own time and in our own place, in our own minute section of the world, proclaim the gospel, and we are the Christ. And that's overwhelming, and that's terrifying, and I get that. And sometimes it's really humbling, and sometimes you're like, I ain't doing that. but we are equipped to do it. The Holy Spirit comes and we are equipped. We have an advocate who tells us how we're going to do it. And sometimes we're not even sure what we're doing. And that's okay. Like, I don't know, like the last 2 years, I have no clue how to run a church. I don't know. I don't know how to parent right now. I don't know anything right now. And you want to know what? Nobody does. And that's okay. So everybody, take a deep breath. Because we've all been holding on to a whole lot of grief. It's been a rough time, hasn't it? It's been rough. The losses have been brutal. The alienation has been brutal. Everything has just been brutal. So I want us to give us some grace, okay? Give each other some grace. We're going to figure it out. The church always has, in all time, in all places. Now we screw it up, we mess it up. I mean, if you want to study in all the things that humans have done wrong, just do a brief study of the Christian faith. We got a few things wrong. And you want to know what? In 200 years, they're going to look back on us and be like, can you believe they did that? Yeah, it's going to happen. Every once in a while I play a game with my kids of what do you think it's going to be horrific in 200 years that we're doing now? We think it's not a big deal. Probably me walking my dog. They're going to be like, people did what? But there will be something. So give us some grace. Give yourself some grace. Give each other some grace. It's going to be okay. The church has always been okay. You want to know why? Because the church has the Holy Spirit. The church isn't about us. The church is about Christ being in the world. It will be fine. Look, proof of God's providence is the fact that the church still exists. For all the stuff that we've done to it, the church still exists. I mean, that is proof of God right there. It will be okay. The Holy Spirit comes and equips us to do our work in the world. So here I tell you, you are called. You are called, you are sent, and you are equipped.
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.